My name is Becca, and in June of 2024, I decided to learn how to make my own clothing. So this is everything that I made in my first year of sewing. Couple things right off the bat. All the patterns for each of these will be linked below, as well as any video tutorials that would be helpful to go along with it. I'll do what I can with fabrics. I tend to thrift my fabrics mostly, and then probably a lot of these are dead stock at this point, so I'll do what I can. And then thirdly, I just want to say up front, this video might be a little bit long. I do want to include my fails because I feel like if I only showed you what worked out, it wouldn't be an accurate representation of what it's actually like to start a new hobby, and it wouldn't properly reflect the learning curve. And so we'll talk about some of the things that went right and some of the things that went wrong, because there are plenty of pieces that weren't wearable, and that's okay. You learn from it all. So let's just get into it. Also, I didn't realize until I got everything up on this rack that I guess I really like wearing red, white, and blue. Like, that's all I made in this last year, and I guess I just didn't really know how much I liked those colors, but the graduation dress by my Ardour is the first piece of clothing that I ever successfully completed. I learned about this pattern from a Kate Makes video. She did, I think, 10 beginner-friendly patterns, and she spoke very highly of this one, and I completely agree with everything that she said. This one's very simple. It's just 2 panels. You do 2 side seams, and then you finish off the raw edges and do the straps with what's called bias binding, this white trim on the edges. This one was such a confidence boost for me. I got it done within a day, and I can't tell you how proud I was. I was sending pictures to all my friends and family because I just couldn't believe that I actually made something wearable. So I fell in love with that pattern just because it was successful. So my Ardour has what she calls her base collection. It's kind of an expansion pack for the graduation dress. So it's 4 tops and 2 different bottoms, and they all fit together. So it's kind of modular, I guess you could say, and you have a ton of different options to create different variations of a similar style dress. So the next one that I made is basically just a shorter graduation dress, but this one is special because it has an overlay. So with this one, I did a ruffle bottom, which she will teach you how to do in her tutorial. And I found this really pretty polka dot mesh that is stretchy. You do need stretchy fabric for this one. And then because it's sheer, I had to learn how to do a French seam. They're a little bit bulky for being French seams, but I was just so nervous to trim the seam allowance. I just left the seam allowance, but I do love this one. I'm a little self-conscious that it looks a bit like a nightgown in public, so you really have to accessorize and dress it up to make it look not like sleepwear. But I think the color combo on this one is just so cute. This is the next one that I made. Similar process. I had an overlay. I did that ruffled hem with the bias tape. You can see that I did not finish this one, so I should have probably trimmed and hemmed the nude fabric, and then also I didn't get the bias binding around this armhole because I got to this point, I put it on, and I realized this looks a little too much like lingerie. The creator did a very similar color scheme with kind of a lacy black fabric over top of nude, and I thought it looked really good. And then you make it and you realize maybe it doesn't suit your lifestyle. I'm not a clubbing type of person, and so this would be a little bit much. And I just decided that it wasn't worth another minute of my time, so I will be harvesting this fabric at some point because it's perfectly good knit fabric, and I'm definitely not going to wear this dress, but you live and you learn. We've got some more graduation dresses, although these I made later on in the year, but same pattern. I love them. I can't stop making them. They fit well, and they're super comfy too. So these are from her base collection, but these were fails for me. So I used the number 4 top, I believe, and then the shorter skirt for this one. I love the shape of her pieces from that base collection, but I really don't love how it's intended to be finished. So with these, because they're not finished with bias binding, you just fold over the raw edge and do a straight stitch, and I really don't like how that looks. It's very difficult to do with knit fabric, and especially around the curves, this just did not work. There's a ton of puckering, the seam is uneven. I just abandoned this one. I didn't hem it. It's terrible. This one also is not hemmed because it's completely unwearable. I will be needing to harvest this fabric for something else so that it doesn't go to waste, but these did not quite work. I highly recommend that if you do use the base collection, because it really is a great idea, that you only use bias binding to finish the edges off. I think doing the fold over just requires a little bit more experience and skill in order to get a good result. I did eventually get to something that is technically wearable, so this blue one is, oops, okay, there we go. This blue one came out a little bit better after some trial and error. It's still not perfect. There's a lot of puckering around the curves, but once you're wearing it and sort of stretched out, you can't tell as much. I do like the look of it just being a fold over without the bias binding. I think it is a little bit more casual and sporty, which is what I was going for with this dress. It's a great one to just toss on when you're going grocery shopping, running errands with some little white sneakers. I think it's a great casual, versatile dress. It's very comfortable. But yeah, probably won't be doing it and finishing it off in this way again. If I can figure out how to line this, I think that would be fantastic. And in that case, I would make this over and over again because it's a great cut, not great execution. That's all. Also, I will say there are pros and cons to starting with knit fabrics. A lot of people, I heard in the beginning that you should start with a knit because you don't have to worry so much about sizing and you don't have to worry about installing a zipper, which can be kind of tricky. The thing is, knit in itself can be tricky and it comes with its own challenges. Cotton, for example, is much easier to work with. It does exactly what you tell it to. It's easy to pin, it's easy to press, but you likely will need some type of zipper or closure in order to make it fit you right. What helped me with knit was researching what settings I should have my machine on in terms of tension, and that goes for your needle as well as your bobbin tension, so look that up. And then also sizing down my needle really helped me. My bobbin was sort of malfunctioning and I was getting a ton of extra thread bunching up on the bottom side of my fabric, and as soon as I sized down my needle and oiled my machine, that completely stopped. So do a little bit of research if you're having issues with your knit. Having started with knit, I don't know if I would do it much differently. I think that these were basic enough patterns that I kind of built my confidence and was able to do this next one, which this next one is wanting a dress like this is what got me into sewing. I was constantly being bombarded with ads for the House of CB dress, which was popular at that point for probably 2 years. It's gorgeous, it's a drop waist, it cinches in the back, it's very summery, and I loved it, but I don't know, for me, I'm kind of like, in your early 20s, you should be maxing out your Roth IRA if you can and avoiding consumer debt. And buying a $300 dress doesn't align with those values of mine. And so when I saw the ad for probably like the 23rd time, I said, I know someone has figured out how to make this dress. I can DIY it. I know I can. So I went to YouTube and I found a perfect tutorial by Coraline Street. She made an entire like printable pattern in order to recreate this House of CB dress, and the pattern is, I don't know, $9 or something like that. So I bought the pattern, but I was smart enough to know my experience level and I said I need to start with something easier. So I started with these, built my confidence up a little bit, and I made the Carmen dress by Coraline Street. I cannot tell you how proud I was once I finished this dress. This is kind of a complicated dress. It has a basque waist, which is difficult to do and not have it pucker. It has boning, it has a lace-up detail in the back, it has bust cups. There are a lot of reasons why this probably shouldn't have been a pattern that I chose early on. However, I do kind of think that in the beginning, you hit so many speed bumps or issues and problems that you kind of need to take a little extra time and research to get through. And if you aren't working on something that you really, really want to wear at the end, you might not have the motivation to get through those challenges. I wanted this so bad, I took like an entire week to very meticulously make it, and it's not perfect. The bodice seams do not align with the skirt seams. There's puckering along the zipper. The hem is incredibly wonky. I freestyled the skirt lining and it's completely attached to the shell, which is not how you're supposed to do it. None of that matters. Nobody notices that stuff when I wear this dress. In fact, people say, I love that dress. Where did you get it? I want one. And I get to say, I made it. So I don't know, if you're starting out and you're kind of self-conscious to wear something that you made because you know it's not technically perfect, and you're like, everyone can tell that this is homemade. Probably not. I mean, people who are experienced and they went to fashion school, you're a tailor, you're on this channel probably because you like sewing, so you might have the eye to pick certain things out, but most people don't. So don't be self-conscious to wear the things that you made, even if they're not perfect. But I highly recommend this pattern by Coraline Street, and I will be making it again. This next one is the Aimee bias dress by Coraline Street. I absolutely binged her content after this dress came out successfully. And this one is kind of a fail for me. It's not the pattern. The pattern is great. It took me 2.5 hours to do. It's not completed. I didn't hem it. I didn't take the gathering stitches out, but it doesn't fit me correctly. I don't really know if it's the fit or if it's just the style lines that don't suit me well. I think the drapier, looser pieces tend to look better on people who are sort of long and willowy and tall, which is not me. I'm nervous to take it in on the sides because it's a bias dress, so there's no zipper, and I'm afraid that if I make it to fit me the way I would like it to and kind of bring it in at the waist, that I won't be able to get it on and off my body. I don't know how much you can take in a bias dress before it's not able to like get onto your body, if that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if I'm being silly about that and if I should just give it a go, but I do think this is a beautiful dress. All of the other people who have made it, whether it was in reviews or on Instagram, they look gorgeous in this dress. It's just, I don't know, it's not for me. Okay, at this point, it was getting a little bit colder. We're getting into fall, so I wanted to try my hand at some long sleeve tops and sort of basics that would get me through autumn. And I found this pattern by Not Your Cherry, I think. This is called the Regina top. And something I love about this creator is she will cram as many different views of the pattern into the PDF. So you really get a lot of bang for your buck and tons of different options. And you can choose what sleeves you want, what length of shirt you want. There were different styles of this sort of off-shoulder piece. So I did the medium length, so it's not too long and I can tuck it into pants if I need to and not have a bunch of bunching happening. I did the flared sleeves, and for this one, I did the ruched top, so there's a little piece of elastic along the sides to make it scrunch up a little bit. And then the burgundy one is just flat on either side, which is what I ended up preferring. This is knit, so it can be kind of tricky to work with, but it is a very simple pattern. Oh, something else fun that I did was I did a little lettuce hem at the bottom of the sleeves instead of doing kind of a rolled like fold over hem, and I think that gives it a nicer look. It just looks a little bit more less homemade, but a little lettuce hem is a great hack. This mini gray circle skirt is next. I never wear it for several reasons. The vision was to pair it with these long sleeves. And then I don't know if it's the color combination or if it's just the fact that it's a circle skirt. I put it on with some boots and it felt kind of dated to me. Felt very like 2010s. I don't know, let me know what you think, but I'm not great about fall and winter fashion. It doesn't come naturally to me, especially pairing separates. I'm just kind of lost when it comes to that kind of fashion. So I didn't end up liking this. I don't like the color really either. The biggest problem though is that I didn't know about pre-shrinking. You can see most of the fabric that I used up until now, with a couple exceptions, was knit. So I did not know that you need to wash and dry your fabrics if they're woven before actually cutting into it, because they shrink in the wash. So I made this without washing it. I washed it later after the skirt was completed, and it's like a lot shorter. Like it shrunk significantly, which is not the end of the world. Like you can wear shorts underneath it, but considering all the other issues that I have with this skirt, I don't wear it. It was a good learning experience though, to be able to make something without having purchased a pattern. You can just find a circle skirt calculator online and it'll tell you based off of your measurements what you need. So I guess it was a good learning experience. Yes, it was, because I learned that you need to pre-shrink your fabric. That's very important. Okay, this one is a great example of maybe your execution isn't perfect. The inside is a little bit scary, but you can still have a beautiful result. I'm actually kind of embarrassed to show you this. Okay, a couple things to get out of the way. I made this in an absolute rush and I intended to line it. This fabric definitely, it frays very quickly. It's like an upholstery fabric, to be honest. It's probably not for clothing, but the intention was to do a lining. I ran out of time. So I quickly cut out a facing and I did something wrong. I'll just show you. Okay. I clearly didn't backstitch because the facing is falling off and it's frayed and it's a mess. But when I put this on, it is beautiful. This is the Chantelle tweed dress by Dressmaking Amour, I believe. I will put it here just in case I got that wrong. But this is a beautiful cut of a dress. It's very classic. I think it's very like sophisticated and elegant. I get so many compliments on this one. This one was a little bit up there in terms of skill. Like I wouldn't say that this should be your first ever project that you jump into without any experience. It is a little bit more advanced. That being said, the video tutorial is so good. One of the best video tutorials, very clear, it goes slow. You'll know you won't have any questions along the way, if that makes sense. But this dress definitely deserves a lining, especially because this fabric is just not the softest. However, I wore this on the first day of having a brand new puppy, and he used to do this thing that was kind of charming. He would just pee when he got a little too excited. So he peed on this, and I forgot to pre-treat it, and so there's a little pee stain on it. This is not the only garment that I've made that he has destroyed. We'll get into that a little later. It's kind of tragic. So I need to either figure out how to get this stain out, although I have tried. Give me your tips if you have any pee stain removal hacks. I need to replace these two panels. I do have some extra fabric of this, and I need to line it because it's a mess on the inside. But all of that aside, like, whatever, when I put it on, no one knows. No one knows what the inside looks like. I mean, is the hem the best? No, it's a little puckered, like, whatever. Don't be, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to encourage you guys to, like, yes, your projects aren't going to be perfect in the beginning. That's just how it goes. You're learning, but people are so impressed if you make your own clothing and no one's looking at your seams under a microscope. Like, no one's seeing the inside. It's fine. I can't tell you how many people have been like, "Where did you get that dress? I want that dress." This is probably my most complimented dress ever. So anyway, highly recommend this one. Okay, I liked that pattern so much that I started on a blue tweed version, and you can see that I didn't finish it because I sort of came across an issue with this one. The smallest size for this pattern is a US 2, and I needed to take it in on the sides because it was a little bit too big. So I did that, I got it to fit me well, and then I realized, well, now the lining is a different size than the shell. And I just didn't know how to exactly transfer the changes that I made on the shell to the lining. I feel like looking back, that's really not that big of a deal. And if the lining's a little bit bigger, it's kind of nice to have some ease in the lining anyway. So if you have tips on that very specific issue, please leave them in the comments below. I think at this point I would be able to figure it out, no problem. But that's this one. I mean, I think I did the zipper so well in this one. This is definitely a win in terms of the invisible zipper installment, and it's so close. I need to just buckle down and get it done. Next was, I didn't wasn't sure if I should include this or not, but it was just a pattern test for Coraline Street's Marcela top. It felt very cool to be chosen to test out a pattern for her because she's really the person who got me into sewing, but I think this is a great top. It's made out of very cheap quilting cotton just because, you know, it's a pattern test. You're just basically just testing out the pattern to make sure that the instructions are clear, that the fit is correct, and then you give your feedback to the creator. So you don't really want to use nice material when you're doing a pattern test, but this pattern definitely deserves nicer material. I think it's so elegant and classy. There's two different versions. This one shows a little bit more skin, and then there's another one that buttons down the front. I think her instructions are so great that you could pull this one off specifically. I don't know about the other view B, but this one I think that you could do as a beginner. I don't know if she rates it that way, but I would rate it that way. I think that really she is so good that you can make this pretty early on in your sewing journey. Next, we're getting into some dresses that I've actually made videos on. So this one, I'll link the pattern, but it will not get you this result because I hacked the crap out of it. So originally that pattern is supposed to be a halter top. I tried to change it pretty unsuccessfully into just a tank style. It didn't work out great. There's some extra fabric by the bust slash underarm area, which can be fixed. I just need to take it apart and do a more severe dart on the bust, and that will take care of that extra fabric. This one was just, there was a lot of drama with this one, so I have a little bit of like PTSD. I don't want to revisit it quite yet. I also added some gathered hip pieces because I was seeing a lot of that on Pinterest and stuff, and I really love how that looks to have some extra volume on the hips. I don't think I executed it perfectly. This isn't the best fabric to do that. I think that really calls for a stiffer, more structured fabric in order to be able to see them. A few commenters said that fusible interfacing would have helped. Someone else said maybe an underskirt with some tulle on the sides to add that volume. I also think my placement wasn't great. I think they're almost towards my butt, and so the volume is in the wrong place. I think I should have placed them a little bit more to my sides because as it is now, it kind of gives those very like historic dresses where they would wear like the butt pad, you know what I'm talking about? So it looks a little funny, but all that being said, I really love this dress. I wore it so much this summer. It's my go-to like date night dress. You know, it's got a kind of a plunge. It's a little sultry, but because it's midi, I feel like that kind of balances it out and gives it a little bit of a chic touch to balance all the skin that you're showing. And then of course the navy polka dots is very me. So this one took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears out of me. Literally all three of those. But it ended up being one of my favorites, so it was worth it in the end. This is another tragedy. Um, I love this set. So this set is a white eyelet gauze cotton, and this is the Rose Cafe Bustier bodice, and this skirt is self-drafted. I followed a Cape Makes tutorial. The only thing I did differently is I did my ruffle a little bit shorter, but that's just because I ran out of fabric. So I'll link the tutorial for this one. I will also link the video that I created this in, as well as the navy blue polka dot one. There's a video on it. If you want to watch it, I'll link it. But yeah, this is tragic because I only got to wear this once before it was pretty much destroyed and it's completely unwearable now. I wore it out on a date night. I came home and maybe I had a little bit of a buzz going, and I didn't place them in the hamper like a responsible person. I dumped them on the floor. And my sweet little angel baby puppy, the next day, came home all muddy, and he laid right on top of them. And I did pre-treat them with a stain remover, and it just didn't work. It's covered in mud. Again, it's super tragic. I spent so much time on this set, and this was gonna be my staple summer skirt. Like how much it's so perfect for summer, and I enjoyed it for a single day. But I will definitely be remaking this set because I love it so much. Just I need the anger to I just need more time to get over how sad I am about the fact that this is ruined, and I will be remaking it. Alright, this one is I don't have a video on this one, but I loved how the Rose Cafe Bustier top fit, and I wanted to try it in a full dress. So I don't love the skirt that comes with that pattern. I don't like straight skirts. I feel like the bodice is very restrictive, and I just need a flowy skirt in order to actually wear that top. So I made this out of just a very basic polka dot. I think this is a quilting cotton, which isn't great for clothing, I'm learning, but it's very breathable and lightweight for the summer. This is like my farmer's market go-to dress. I can sweat in this one and you won't even be able to tell. The gathering, I believe, is 2.5 times gather. Um, with this one, I really don't know what happened, but there's a little mishap on the zipper. You can see one side is much higher than the other. I was so focused on making sure that at the waistline that they were even and matched up with each other that I didn't pay attention to the fact that the top didn't match up. So don't know what happened there, but most people wouldn't clock something like that. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have a pattern to give you for this because it's no longer available. If it becomes available again, I'll make sure to update the description box, but I purchased this pattern way early on in June, and it was too hard for me. I started it with a different material that I can't even find anymore, and I was very overwhelmed. Um, Later on, I decided to give it a go again. I think it was closer to here. I was a little further along. I didn't want to give a go for the entire dress just in case it didn't work out. So I think this is actually smart. If you purchase a dress pattern and you're maybe thinking it's a little advanced for you, just do the bodice. If you do the bodice out of some muslin or some thrifted this was a thrifted curtain. I got this done and I was kind of like, hey, I can do this. This isn't too bad. Instead of doing the shirred back for this one, I just did a little lace-up detail. I knew how to do this from the Carmen dress. Theo, please don't hit the... Get away from the tripod. Thank you. So this was kind of my little tester for this pattern, and it actually came out wearable, which was very encouraging. I then started with this one. This is a gingham poly cotton, I believe. Although I was able to successfully complete this one was a different story because the fabric was a little bit sheer and I needed to line it, but the instructions don't consider a lining. So the pattern is not made to be lined. And at the time, I didn't know how to make it work because this is kind of technically a little bit more advanced and it's just constructed in a way that I didn't have a lot of experience in. There's a shirring detail in the back, which I hadn't done before. So this one sat in pieces for a long, long time until I finished it with you guys in that video. So you can see a little bit more in depth how I created this. I added some trim, which was so fun. I love how this one turned out. And I added a little lace-up detail in the back because it was a little bit big for me, but it's nice to be able to cinch it up in the back. So that's this one. It's very summery, sort of picnic dress. I love it. In that video, I created this, someone said it was a stay. Is it stay or stays? I don't know the difference between corsets and stays, but the pattern is called the blue corset, so I'm gonna go with that. I love this one. The fabric is my favorite of all time. I love this fabric so much. This was a very simple corset to create. Corsets can get very advanced and very complicated, but this is just a single cut, and the construction is very repetitive. So you're just sewing tons of boning channels over and over again, and it's time consuming, but it's simple. And for that reason, I think you could create this pretty early on in your sewing journey. What I struggled with was the metal. I learned these are not eyelets because they're smaller, and these are called eyelets, these are grommets. I didn't know there was a difference, but that was a difficulty for me. I didn't know how to do this, and I didn't do a practice. I just went straight to the finished garment, which was kind of silly of me, but these weren't installed great, and they're kind of small, so they're not very strong, and I can feel some of them are getting a bit loose, which makes me nervous to wear this. So if I were to do this again, I definitely would size up and do actual grommets so that it's a lot sturdier, because that's how it's intended to be. Oh, this pattern also comes with a ruffle strip at the bottom, which I skipped. It's not really my style, but I just did some little binding on the bottom. That's how I did that one. Oh, funny story. So that one in particular, I made, I'll show you. And these aren't the only ones. I attempted that one, two, three. There's a fourth brown one. I attempted that one so many times, and I don't even remember attempting it. I stopped at the same exact point for all of them. I think it was the grommets. I didn't know if I could actually pull off doing the grommets, but instead of buckling down and learning how to do grommets, I just kept making them over and over again and never actually finishing them. Funny story, I don't know. That happens sometimes in sewing, and I mean, if you're attempting something over and over again and you're not quite getting it to be finished, it feels like a waste of time, but really you're building up your skill to make a really, really good version of it. I don't know. Just thought I'd show you that. I laughed when I found all of those. I was like, why did I, the definition, what is that? The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Okay, last one. I wear this dress all the time. This is a self-drafted dress. It was inspired by a Free People dress. And this one, I also kind of walked you through my process. I am thinking I may make this into like a printable PDF pattern. That's a whole nother world. I'm gonna need, a year or so to learn how to actually make sewing patterns, but a lot of you liked this one, and I think it's a great summer dress. It's so breathable. The whole back is open, so it's a great one to stay cool in the summer, but you still look nice. It's a cotton, so it's very lightweight. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with myself for figuring out how to make this just based off of some photos and a handful of measurements on my body. So I freestyled the bodice. For the skirt, it's a 3-tiered gathered skirt. So yeah, I wear this one all the time. It's a great summer dress, and I highly recommend checking that video out and making your own because it's a great one. So a couple things that I did make in the last year but are not on this rack because one, I gifted them to people, or two, they're in the laundry and I can't be bothered to fish them out. But for Christmas, I made Lydia Naomi's Heidi apron 3 times. There are many people in my family who are getting more into baking and cooking, and it was just, this apron is gorgeous. It is a huge step up from like a basic apron. It's very cottagecore, very whimsy, and it's It's one that takes a long time, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely a time investment for that one, but it's so worth it. It's so cute. I made 2 of them with the frills, and then I made one without all of the frills because it just matched her vibe a little bit better. I even, um, graded it down even further than the extra, extra small for a 4-year-old, so she would be matching with her mom, and that worked out really well. So I actually want to make one for myself because I also like cooking and baking, but yeah, that's a great one. I highly recommend. I also made a very basic baby quilt, just checkered, nothing fancy. It's also pretty small, so it's more like a playmat, but that was for my niece's first birthday. I made it in her nursery colors. I also made 4 sets of pajamas. 3 of them are in my latest video. I will link them, and here are some clips of those. That was super, super fun. So I used, for the shorts, I used Coraline Street's Easy Summer Shorts. I made 2 different tops by Transformations by Tracy. I'll link those down in the description box as well. But that was a super fun experience. I love, love, love making pajamas. I've made more since then, but yeah, you can get more of the process in that video. I want to actually mention the dress that I'm wearing right now. So I made this in July, and June is my 1-year cutoff. So it's not technically my first year of sewing, but I feel like it's close enough that I can kind of mention it. And this dress is just, it's very near and dear to my heart. So my grandma passed away a couple weeks ago now, and for her funeral, I loved this. For her funeral, we decided that we were going to do bright colors and florals because that fit my grandma a lot better than black. Funerals are always sad, but this one, she was in hospice for a long time, and my grandpa's was sad because they were separated, and hers was a little happier because it feels like they're reunited again. It was more a celebration of life. Black was not the vibe. So we all wore patterns and colors that my grandma really loved, and she specifically loves the blue and the white florals. It's all over her home in bedding and vases and dinnerware. Like, that was her favorite. So I found, I was running around for an entire morning trying to find fabric that would really do this justice, and I couldn't thrift anything. I only have one fabric store near me, so I actually ended up finding this sheet set at Ross. And it's just like, it's so perfect. I was too nervous to try an entirely new pattern. That's a little bit risky, especially because I had 2 days to throw a dress together. So I went with a tried and true top. This is again the Rose Cafe Bustier, and I knew it fit. I knew the construction, I knew the process, so it would have been too stressful to try an entirely new pattern. So with this one, I didn't do any boning in it, which makes it a little bit more comfortable, and I really don't think it's that big of an issue. Like, it lays fine. And then for the straps, I just did traditional flat straps instead of the tie. And for the skirt, I did a circle skirt. I messed up the calculation, so the diameter was a little bit too big. To fix that, I just did like these teeny tiny gathers on the sides. They're so subtle, you really don't notice them, but that was an easy way to fix that little mishap. And this one, I mean, okay, I was on such a time crunch that I actually didn't trim the hem, which you definitely should. It was definitely warping as I was wearing it. The hem is quite wonky. People don't notice that stuff. Or at least that's what I tell myself, okay? Oh, another thing with this one is I actually got my hands on some underwire, which, oh my gosh, makes such a big difference. I also just added some underwire to this one. I went back and did it once I saw what a big difference it makes. Um, for this particular pattern, highly recommend, don't skip the underwire for this pattern. You can skip the boning, but underwire makes a huge difference. But I love this one. I especially love the circle skirt combo with this bodice pattern. I think it's lovely, and this one is so special to me. So I will wear it all the time, and I think of my grandma. That is everything that I made in my first year of sewing. I hope this was encouraging to anybody who is curious about starting sewing, or maybe you're just in the beginning of your journey and you need some pattern recommendations, everything is linked in the description box, like I said. And I don't know, I hope this inspires somebody. It's really the most rewarding hobby. Once you get a couple projects under your belt, you'll know the basics of garment construction, and you'll be scrolling on Pinterest or Instagram or online shopping, and you'll just be like, I think I can actually make that myself. It's the best feeling in the world. And you can make it in the fabric you want. You can make it in the color that you want. You can make it to actually fit your body, because most clothing off the rack does not fit every single person. I'm starting to sweat with this little rant, but give it a try. Please give it a try. If you need help, if you need encouragement, like, comment. This is actually the sweetest little community of people. I've learned so much from comments down below. They've been so encouraging. They really will welcome you with open arms. So get into like YouTube sewing videos and you will learn a lot and you will make friends. So thank you for watching to the end and spending some time with me. If you want to see any of the videos that I mentioned, they'll be linked below, and I'll see you next time.